Welcome back. I'm George Abernathy. I'm pleased to be back again. I'm the proud president of FreightWaves and looking forward to spending the next few minutes in our last fireside chat of the day. We're going to be talking about benchmarking. It's one of the hallmarks of the things that we do here at FreightWaves and one of the things that we continue to enhance and improve. And we're going to talk about that now with the Vice President of Customer Success and Benchmarking here at FreightWaves, Todd Davis. Welcome, Todd. Great to have you.
Thank you, George. Good to be here.
So Todd's been with FreightWaves for a while. I'm going to let Todd do a little bit of his background. And Todd, while you're doing the background, give the folks that are joining us a little bit of the background around how benchmarking has become such an integral part of what FreightWaves has to offer.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, I've been with FreightWaves for right at about a year. Prior to that, I had 24 years combined experience with two different national truckload carriers. And joined FreightWaves about a year ago, came over onto the customer success team, really appreciate the data and analytics and transparency that FreightWaves is bringing to the market. That's what really drew me to it. I feel like this is, the place to be at this time in transportation and logistics. Insofar as benchmarking, it's a perfect fit for what we have at FreightWaves. Benchmarking, George, you're a baseball fan, right? So to get into Cooperstown, what are some of the key, determinants to whether someone makes Cooperstown or not, right? It's stats. And so, yeah, by benchmarking, operators, whether they be carrier operators, brokerage operators, whatever the case may be, they can submit their data. We anonymize it, harmonize it, post it back out to them. They can see where they rank relative to peer groups that they want to participate in, and that's a good lagging indicator. So they give us some fairly sensitive data. It's bound by antitrust guidelines and regulations. We take a look at it. We pass it back over to them. They're able to see where they rank. So that's lagging. They can then dial in. We have like exception range algorithms that run over the top of that. So it'll point out, where they're high, where they're low, relative to their peers and that type of thing. And then they can go and peel back the layers of the onion, as it were, and see what metrics are driving that particular data point and be able to then execute on that and attack it. So that's the lagging piece of it. But the beauty of it, combined with FreightWaves and our SONAR data and analytics platform, that's leading indicators, right? So not only, we're like a one-stop shop. We can help you understand where you are relative to your peers and areas where you might want to take a look at operational changes or cost changes or things along those lines to better your operation. But we're also giving you the ability to look ahead based on our data and analytics with tender volumes, tender rejections, what the market level trends are, to kind of continually improve going forward. So I think it's a natural fit, and very excited to be joining the team and carrying on the good work that the team has done now on the brokerage side here, this product offering that we've stood up over the last couple of months.
I think that's really an interesting aspect. I think looking in the rearview mirror, but being able to apply that going forward is something that's unique about FreightWaves. So paint a little bit of a picture, if you would, on how we leapt into the benchmarking area through the TCA, the acquisition that we made a little over a year ago, and how that's worked its way into brokerage benchmarking. I'm intrigued about how big is it? How big is the scale of the participants and the like, so that folks that are joining us know that we really do have a very significant amount of scale, statistically relevant scale within the benchmarking practice.
Sure, absolutely. So to your point, the Truckload Carrier Association Transportation Profitability Program was stood up back in, I think, around 2014 or so. It has over 230 participants on the carrier side. Carriers can register with different profiles. So a carrier that runs, say, dry van and refrigerated can register for two different profiles. If they have a brokerage attached to their operation, they can register that profile as well, too. Very wildly successful. That group has grown from just a handful of carriers to over 230 now, widely respected, widely enjoyed within the carrier community, and the framework and architecture for it lent itself very readily to being able to then come over onto the brokerage side, because you're really talking about the same types of general ledger data, whether it be administrative general ledger information or operational information that can be pulled in and harmonized and then put back out to the membership. So it was really a good plug and play, as it were. Taking the experience that we gained by purchasing the Stack Up Engage product back in, I think, June of 2019, and then rolling out brokerage this spring.
How big is the brokerage element? I mean, obviously, we've got sort of the pure play, non-asset intermediation, and the brokerage side of an asset player, which has very different models, but clearly want to be able to benchmark around some of the items that we're looking at. How significant is the number of participants in the benchmarking that we're doing for brokers these days?
It's grown quite rapidly. We're up to almost 30 participants now, and it's only been active for roughly about 60 days. So the growth trajectory is quite promising in that regard. And it seems like, too, when you talk to the non-asset brokers, the folks on the 3PL side, they're interested in that. I think everybody is very competitive. They want to understand how they rank relative to their peers. Their structures oftentimes are by and large very similar. Their cost of entry, their headcount structures and things like that, very, very similar. So it's only natural, to look around and say, well, how am I doing as opposed to X, Y, Z? And there seems to be a willingness on the part of that group too, which is very nice, to want to engage. They're not. I think in the early days of the Stack Up program on the carrier side, there was a lot of reluctance to open up and share that type of information. But it seems like with the non-asset brokerage groups that we're now starting to engage with, they're comfortable with it, seem to embrace it, and I think we've got a great road ahead of us.
Your background, as you described, really was a great fit coming into customer success, engaging with the SONAR customer base, and really is a natural migration for you over into this role of leading the benchmarking. I'm interested. How do you see FreightWaves being part of the reason that the non-asset brokers are that growth trajectory is so significant? What part of the FreightWaves platform makes it such that people want to engage with us in this benchmarking way?
I think by and large, they're just hungry for data, and they realize that we've got a great data set to be able to kind of show the whole market. So it's a natural lead-in. From the brokerage standpoint, they've got their data metrics that they throw off. They may not have the whole picture of what's going on in the 135 U.S. markets. Our data can bring that to them. They can look qualitatively at that point in time at RFPs that they may be fielding or one-off type pricing negotiations that they're having with clients. And it just helps give them another tool in the toolbox for decision support, how to make that decision in the best interest of their firm. And so I think it's a natural segue from there, to say, okay, hey, let's go ahead and go like a layer deeper, and let's see how you're operating vis-a-vis your peers if you would like to get involved with the program.
Now, speaking of the peers, as you're sorting me as this broker, as this intermediary, are there groups? How does it work that I'll be looking, peer to peer, apples to apples, if you were? How is that sorting happening? Are there groups that are established? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. They're tiered groups based on revenue size, so that you're not putting, a very large broker with someone who is small, and it's driven by the peers. So there has to be buy-in and acceptance. So it's not driven, by FreightWaves. It's more of like a member-led type process. So we want everyone to be comfortable. We want everyone to be collaborative and share as much as they want to share and engage as much as they want to engage. But to your point, yes, we do segments so that we kind of keep like size to like size and that type of thing.
And you're seeing in the time that you've taken the leadership, you're seeing a willingness to engage. That hockey stick that you're seeing in the number of companies that are engaging, is that, you've been at FreightWaves long enough, I guess nothing surprising as far as growth is concerned, but that must be really welcome to you and really exciting as you take on this role.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a conversation that kind of almost sells itself, as it were. People see the benefit of it. It's logical and intuitive. They're comfortable with it. The brokerage community very, very comfortable with technology, and they're looking for an edge. They're looking for data and analytics to help give them an edge. And here we are, whether it's benchmarking and kind of looking in the rearview mirror and adjusting things going forward, or it's SONAR data and analytics that you're tying in with it to improve future operations and make better decisions in the future.
So the bigger this gets, the more that both SONAR and the benchmarking will be served by that additional data and that those additional companies that are participating. So speaking of companies that are participating or want to participate, I'm sure that we've got a significant number of companies that are potentially hearing about this for the first time right now. And how would they go about becoming part of this benchmarking program?
They can reach out to me directly. Todd Davis, tdavis at freightwaves.com. We'll have some information out about how to do that along with this presentation. And myself and the rest of the customer success team can get engaged with them and kind of help them through that conversation. It's a fairly low lift on their side of the fence. It's more of submitting a trial balance, letting us take a look at that trial balance, seeing how it fits into the data mapping structure. And then from there, we can set it up on an automatic cadence where that data is then automatically ingested on a monthly cadence with the client.
So
fairly.
It sounds incredibly easy, and that's exactly where I was hoping to go when you talk about a trial balance. So both from an expense standpoint, doesn't sound like it's a big lift, and it sounds like the effort, I mean, everybody's busy, everybody's got plenty to do to try to protect their net to gross margin. Everybody's got enough to do to try to drive the largest margins that they can and provide the greatest customer service they can. But this sounds like it's a relatively easy lift with regards to what I'm going to have to provide. It sounds like it's an output that I'm going to be able to pull from my TMS or from my financials pretty easily. Is that what you've been experiencing?
Absolutely. It can be ingested via API. It can be sent in via Excel spreadsheet if the client wishes. Clients can see the results in the SONAR. You have to be a SONAR member, so you can see the results in the SONAR UI. But also, too, a ranked report can be also distributed via Excel spreadsheet on a monthly cadence as well, too. And then also, too, there's an API component where the data can go back into the client system via API. And say, for instance, if there's budgeting assumptions that are being made and they're looking at the road ahead from, say, a CFO or controller standpoint of view, some FreightWaves data can go in with that to help inform those line items and show maybe trending to maybe help them with that.
So that's really important. So I can look at within SONAR, I can look at this up against the SONAR data, and as you describe, sort of that API being able to bring it in as I would want to see it. So it sounds like a real potentially customized, very personal way for that particular company to be able to consume the data.
Absolutely. We have several different methods, and again, it's member led, and I think that probably as time goes by, there will be other things developed and enhancements developed in that area as well too to make it easy to ingest.
Well, I appreciate it, Todd. I can't tell you how excited I am as somebody who has spent a lot of my career in the management of 3PLs, 4PLs, intermediaries, whatever the brokerage, whatever the phraseology is. I can tell you that we were using a lot of the public information that we could get from publicly traded companies to see how we were doing. What was our net to gross compared to somebody else? And what was our growth rate both at the gross level and at the net level? How are we doing? But we were hamstrung by only being able to get that was publicly traded information. This really takes it to the next step and opens up a real world for a much broader group. And last thing I'll ask you is, really, brokers of all size and all types, as we were saying, you can be relatively small or all the way up to the largest to get value out of this, correct?
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Todd, I'm thrilled. I'm really excited about going forward with the benchmarking program. Love the fact that you are leading this now, and really excited for where we're going to take this next. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. And thank you for everybody for being with us on our 3PL Summit. Be well, Todd.